Alright, so I just finished the practice questions for my final exam. It was like half of the material that we had covered, and as you can see, I got 44.4%, so that's not very good. But I have learned some stuff. So first thing in absorption costing, I need to divide the fixed MOH, the total amount, by the number of units, so we get the unit per unit cost. And over here again in absorption costing, like I did the same mistake again, and I didn't read the question. Well, I didn't do the same mistake, like I divided it by the number of units, but it was wrong. It was 20,000 units. Instead, I put 200,000 and I got it wrong. Here, this is the budgeting chapter, and this is the hardest one, so I'm probably gonna practice it over and over and over again. But my teacher is really great. She has everything posted online on our school website thingy. And so yeah, I'm gonna go over the practice questions she posted and also the assignments, the quizzes, and just do those. But anyways, this is the budgeting, and I messed up here because previously I didn't even have the December cash sale, so I just like didn't have this one. And then yeah, I don't really know what I did. Let me just check actually. I took the October sales in October, the November sales in November, December sales in December. But this is for December. Like it should only be the October sales that are in receivable, like how much you collect in December from the October sales. And then November should be how much you collected for December that came from November, right? So for example, here we have $400,000 sales on account, and we collect those in December, so it's 2 months, right? So 18% of the 400,000 will be collected in December, and that is the and that is the 72,000 here. And the same thing for November, so the 525,000. Only 60% of that will be collected in December, and in December, only 20% of the sales will be collected, which results to 120,000, and in total it is 590,000. So next was the payments to suppliers. This one, for basically it's the same thing as the cash collections, but let's see here. So purchases of inventory. This is the cash disbursement. In November, we have an accounts payable of 161,000, and this will be paid in December. So that's a very key thing to know. So 161,000 will be paid in December. So we're gonna include this in December. And then only 30% of a month's inventory purchases are paid during the month of the purchase. So in December, we purchased $280,000 of inventory, and only 30% of this $280,000 will be paid during December. And that is what is shown right here. So only 30% of 280,000, 84,000 will be paid to the suppliers. So in total, that is 245,000. So I got the beginning cash balance right, as you can see right there. I did 40,000. That was pretty easy because the question gives it to you. And then we have the cash collections. This is wrong because I did it wrong. So if you mess this up, you're gonna mess everything up. The real answer is 590 and then 630,000 for the total. And then we have, I put web server, selling and admin, and dividends, but I didn't include the purchases. So that should be included there. So the payments to suppliers, because that is a disbursement. That is what this question was asking, and it should be included in the disbursements. But other than that, I did have web server, selling and admin, and dividends paid. So I got that right. But after that, this obviously is gonna go wrong because I have this wrong, and this is also wrong. So the access and efficiency is totally wrong. that will be 80,000. And then we need to borrow 100,000 because the company needs 20,000 of a minimum cash balance. So we're gonna borrow 100,000 to meet this. And we are not repaying anything because we just borrow the money and there's no interest yet, or from other past thingy borrowings. There we go. And then the ending cash balance will now be 20,000, and that is correct. All right, for this one, I was very confused, as you can see, but I understood it when I looked at the answer. So the question was asking what is the DM, so direct material quantity variance, and what you have to do is the actual quantity times the standard price, and then standard quantity times the standard price. So the actual quantity is how much was used. Over here, the price is purchased. So the actual quantity is how much they actually purchased. But here, it would be how much they actually used because it's the quantity. And so we'd multiply that by the standard price, which is given there in that question. And then this one would be the standard quantity is how much are they making? Like how much can they make? So they were able to make 4,750. They used 3,550 cups of flour to make 4,750 biscuits. So the actual quantity here is 3,550, but the standard quantity is 4,750. Wait, what? Okay, so standardly, it's gonna take them 0.75 cups to make one biscuit. And according to the standards, they can make 4,750 biscuits. So 4,750 times 0.75 is how many cups it will take according to the standards. And that would equal, right here, 3,562.5. And then you would multiply this by the standard price, which is 0.53. And then you would get this number here. And then you would subtract 1881. You would subtract this side from this side to get whether it's favorable or unfavorable price variance for direct material. And for this one, it is negative, so that is favorable. If it was positive, it would be unfavorable. And the total would be this side, the price variance, plus the quantity variance. And we get a total of 73.37 because it's 80 plus negative 6.63, 73.37. Right, got this question right. And this one's also right, but I just did it in a different way. The right way was just to ignore this part and just focus on this. The actual hours times the standard rate. And to figure that out, we would need to find the standard hours and then divide the total cost by the number of hours to get a standard rate per hour. So you can see dollars per hour. And that's just how you figure that out. Also, I got this one wrong because I didn't read the question properly. I thought it was asking me for the actual rate, but it was actually asking for the actual hours. So for that, I just had to take the, so if I were to, so AH times SR, right? And okay, wait. Okay, so this is where I messed up. I thought the actual hours were 24,000, but those were the standard hours because right here in the question it says it requires 2 hours of labor and we produce 12,000 units. They're using a standard costing system, which means what they produced is standardized. 12,000 times 2 hours of labor, that's 24,000 of standard labor hours, and the 90,000 is the standard cost. So the standard rate would be the 90,000 divided by 24,000, which will give us 3.75. And then for the actual hours, to figure that out, we would have to take the, I don't know what that is to get, because okay, so this, it's to get this, right? This 90,000 is coming from this right here, with the standard hours times the standard rate is 90,000. This is the efficiency, but this is how we can get the actual hours. So you have the SH times SR, and then you have AH times SR. So over here, this is wrong. So it should be AH times SR. So we know what the standard rate is. We don't know what the actual hours are. So we can just take like AH times 3.75 minus 90,000 equals 5,520. And then this would be AH times 3.75 equals 95,520. And then you can just divide this by the rate. It's going to be AH equals 95,520 divided by 3.75. And this will give you this. I'm not going to do it. I don't know what that is. So I'm pretty sure it's going to give you 25,472. And yeah, there we go. So, next time, look at your formula sheet, and it will be given to you on the exam. So just look at it. Don't try to be smart. And then for this one, this is how much is, so if the workers were paid $3.90 per hour, what was the direct labor rate variance? The question was asking for the rate variance, and basically, so the rate changes, but the actual hours don't change. They're asking here what would happen if they got paid $3.90 instead of the 3.75, and what is the direct labor rate variance. So if we want to check the rate variance, you would look at these two prongs, not these two, because this is the efficiency variance. So this, and you can just use this formula. So AH times AR minus AH times SR, and to get the rate variance. Or you can just take AR minus SR times AH, which will give you the same output. All right, moving on to relevant costing. This one about special order I got right. I did it differently than the answer sheet, but we got to the same answer. So I think it's right. And then here is the make or buy. This one, find the relevant cost, and you would subtract that by the cost, how much it would cost you if you bought it from somebody else. Over here we can see the answer. The company's relevant cost is the DM, DL, the variable manufacturing overhead, and the fixed manufacturing overhead. And we include the 30% because we're comparing whether we should make it or we should buy it from another place, and we should compare it during the same instance. If we were to go purchase this from another supplier, then this costing would go down by 30%. So we're just comparing it on the same playing field, Hope that makes sense. Yeah, that equals to 86 cents per roll. That's what the question had. It was rolls. They're making up buying rolls. Anyways, so 86 cents for the rolls per roll, and they usually make 30,000 in a year. So that would equal to 5,800 in relevant cost. But for the other company, supplier is offering to sell the rolls for 90 cents, and if they do this, they will lose they would want to sell it, right, if they can reduce the cost of making this. Because if they were able to sell it for like how many? Like 30,000, and it cost them 25,800, they will still get 5,800. But now the offer is costing them $27,000, which would mean they would see a decline of $1,200 in profit. So this one I had to watch a video that my teacher posted. It was very good, understood it pretty nicely. This one as well. And that was it.